Hello everyone and welcome to this video. My name is Thiago and today I'm gonna share with you my little story on how I'm learning English. I'm still learning this language. First of all, I'm not a native speaker, of course, as you can notice by my thick accent. I'm from Brazil, and here we speak Romance language, a Latin language. That's Portuguese. Many people think that here in Brazil we speak Spanish, but we don't speak Spanish, even though Spanish and Portuguese are very, very closely related, but they are two different languages. And Brazil is the only country here in American continent, that we use Portuguese. Our Portuguese, in a spoken form, is slightly different from the Portuguese from Portugal and from Angola or Mozambique. But even so, we can understand each other normally. So, here in Brazil, for the majority of people, just like me, the first time when we have contact with English is in the school. So when I was in the fifth grade, I started learning English in the public school here in Brazil. It's a mandatory subject, just like Portuguese, just like math, history, biology. We study English, but we don't learn the language properly. We just learn some grasp of grammar, knows how to translate some texts, something like that. Today, for those younger people, it's much easier because they get in touch with a lot of internet stuff. So they get in touch with English all the time. So younger people here now in Brazil, maybe they have more. I don't say that they speak the language, but they have more contact with English than in my time. Because I'm talking about the beginning of 2000. So in this school, I had some classes, and most of the classes, I've just said, we just had some contacts with grammar and some texts to translate, and just that. We don't get out of school speaking English or speaking any other language. I think nowadays here in Brazil, Spanish is also, I don't know if it is a mandatory or it's a secondary language, but usually people teach now Spanish in schools. And why is this important? Because when we finish high school, we undertake a test to get into public universities. And this test, we have to choose a language. And usually the language is Spanish or English. So everybody here in Brazil studies English in the public school, but when they're going to undertake the test, they choose Spanish because at least Spanish is easier to, how can I say, to guess the meaning of the text, to know the context of what you are reading. Because when you get a text in English and you don't know the language, you will not understand almost anything. So the funniest thing here in Brazil is that we study English for around 7-8 years in the school, but when you're going to get a test to get into the university, we choose Spanish because it's easier. So after high school, I started a private course, a English private course here in my city, and it was one of the funniest and happiest moments of my life, because I really wanted to learn a foreign language, and to learn English was a really pleasure for me. So I started to learn this language for 2 years and a half. So 4 days in a week, I used to go to the school and stay there for 1 hour, and I had classes. And I'm talking about 2006, 2007. Okay, at that time, I used to speak English more often than today, because I had a lot of friends that used to study English, and I was younger, and I didn't have to work. I didn't have too much things to do, so my free time was to study, and I had the opportunity to talk to my friends in English. In the beginning, we used to blend Portuguese, mix Portuguese with English, but gradually we were speaking more in English than in Portuguese, and that was a good moment of my life. And after that, I get a nice fluency in English, but after some time, when I started study for the university and started studying to get a job, I stopped learning English. Of course, if you don't use everything that you don't use, you tend to forget. And I started to keep in touch with English just with texts and on YouTube with audios, but I didn't spoke the language. In fact, I didn't speak the language. I just listened and sometimes read something in English. And when I had to speak with someone, I used to stuck. That's why I came back to this. I came back. In fact, yeah, I came back. Or I started this channel to practice my English, because I'm rusty. Even though I understand pretty well, I can read and understand very, very well, but I don't speak it anymore, because I just left. I just left English and started to do another things, and I forgot a lot of things. That's why it's important when learning a language, we need to speak, we need to express ourselves out loud, because sometimes we just reproduce all those sounds in our mind. We try to think in the language, but we don't speak it. So our mouth and our muscles are not used to the sound of those languages, or this particular language. So when we have to speak, in the moments that we have to speak to express ourselves, we're going to stuck, because we need to think about the topic that we're going to speak. We need to think in the language that we are going to speak, and we need to reproduce it. So in this moment, usually we stuck. We don't progress. That's why we need to speak out loud. So in order not to be stuck in English, that's why I started to speak by myself, record everything in any topic that I choose, and I just upload here in YouTube. So at first, this is not a YouTube that I want everybody to watch it and interact. Of course, it would be very good, but my main goal is to practice the languages that I'm learning and that I've learned in the past, and I need to revive them. That's it. So if you are in the same situation, I would like to know your advice, and I would like to know your opinion. What you do in order to practice your spoken form of language? Do you have people that you talk to, or you talk by yourself, or you don't talk, you don't speak at all in this language. And if you don't speak in this language, when you have to speak, do you have fluency or you stuck? You get a rust in the language. So if you have listened to me until here, let me know in the comment section box below. So guys, see you next video.